Imagine there is an invisible staircase, a staircase that has been in front of you all this time, but no one taught you to see it. Each step of that staircase is not made of wood or steel, but of decisions, of habits, of thoughts. That staircase is magical because it does not lead to a physical place. It elevates you to your best version, to your purpose, to your greatness. And today, thanks to my immortal wisdom, you are about to discover each of those steps. Listen carefully, because this staircase waits for no one. Let's start climbing. On the first step of this magical staircase, I compel you to stop and observe with brutal honesty the ground you are standing on. It's not about money. It's not about titles. It's about the mind. Everything begins in the mind. Not as a pretty phrase repeated aimlessly, but as an absolute truth. What you believe, you create. I spent decades interviewing the most powerful and successful men in the world, and they all agreed on the same thing. The mind is the origin of all wealth, and also of all misery. That's why the first lesson is not to run towards your goals, but to stop and reprogram your thinking. I call it a mental reconstruction, an internal architecture work where you must demolish limiting beliefs and build new convictions. You cannot build an empire if your mind remains that of a slave. And this is where the real magic of this staircase begins. I affirm that every thought has creative power, not symbolic, but literal. If you hold on to it long enough, it becomes belief, and that belief turns into action, and the action, repeated, transforms into destiny. The problem is that most people do not choose their thoughts. They absorb them, they inherit them, they suffer from them. They live with ideas implanted by society, family, failures, and thus walk through life as prisoners with the key in their pocket. I give you a powerful warning. If you do not take control of your mind, someone else will. And that someone else could be fear, doubt, criticism, or complacency. That is why the first step on this magical staircase is not outward, it is inward. It is taking command of your own thoughts and directing them firmly, like a general who does not allow his soldiers to stray. You cannot afford to think about scarcity if you want abundance. You cannot feed complaints and expect results. This is the law of the mind, and it admits no negotiations. But I do not stay only in theory. I give you a concrete tool: daily self-analysis. Every night before sleeping, ask yourself, what thoughts dominated my day? What was my attitude? To what did I give power? To fear or desire? To doubt or action? Because your mind, my friend, is like a garden. If you do not plant deliberately, weeds will grow. And here comes a fundamental principle I establish: burning desire. It is not enough to want something. You must want it with a passion that burns. A desire that consumes you from within, that makes you get up earlier, continue when everyone stops, resist when others give up. If this content is resonating with you and you feel that you are learning something valuable for your growth, subscribe now and activate the bell. At Path to Greatness, each week we share ideas that can transform your mindset, your business, and your life. And if you are enjoying this video, leave a like. It helps us reach more people who are also seeking their best version. Let's continue. The burning desire is the fuel that drives the mind toward success. And if your desire isn't strong enough, not even 1,000 strategies can help you. I tell you that all the men who achieved great things had such an intense, obsessive desire that even when they had nothing, they acted as if they already had it, because they did, in their minds. And that was enough. So I ask you, how much do you want it? Are you willing to live with that flame burning, or will you settle for a lukewarm gray life without fire? Because if you're not willing to want it with all your being, you won't be able to climb this ladder. That is the truth many don't want to hear, but I tell you straight, like a mentor who doesn't flatter your ego, but confronts you with your potential. And here appears another of the great pillars of this first step: faith. Not religious faith, but practical faith. An unshakable certainty that what you imagine, if you believe in it strongly enough and act decisively, will become real. I tell you, faith is the state of mind that translates thought into reality. And you can build that faith through repetition, through affirmations, through visualization, with a conviction that settles into every cell of your body. Remember this: the mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. If you can see it inside, you can create it outside. That is the essence of the first step: an aligned mind, a burning desire, a powerful faith, and a daily determination not to give in to the old self, old thoughts, old excuses. Because yes, climbing this staircase requires leaving behind many things. And the first thing you must let go of is the version of yourself that brought you here, but can no longer take you further. Stop for a moment. Close your eyes and ask yourself this question: what do I truly want? Not what my parents say, not what my friends expect, not what society dictates. What do I want with my soul bare? This is the second step of the magic staircase: having a clear purpose. A goal so clear, so precise, so yours, that it can withstand any storm. I make it clear, 98% of people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack a clear direction. They live like leaves carried by the wind, changing course with every emotion, with every criticism, with every problem. But those who climb this staircase walk with purpose, and they do not stray. I warn you, if you do not define your purpose, someone else will do it for you, and you will live the life others designed. That is why you must write down your purpose, detail it, shape it, measure it, breathe it, because that purpose is the map of your soul. It cannot be something vague like, I want to be happy, or I want to have money. That is not a purpose. That is a sigh in the air. A true purpose is written with dates, figures, scenarios, emotions. It becomes such a powerful vision that even in the darkest moments, it will stay lit like a torch in your mind. I was clear. No sustained success can be achieved without a defined purpose, and it is not enough to know it. You must repeat it every day. Visualize it every morning. Declare it with strength. Because what you repeat is printed. What you visualize manifests. And what you feel intensely transforms you. And here comes discipline. Because having a purpose is not a motivational fantasy. It is a sacred contract with yourself. It means making painful decisions. It means saying no to 1,000 things to be able to say yes to your mission. And every no you utter is another step you climb. Every time you choose what brings you closer instead of what entertains you, you advance. And here, I want you to hear this as if your wisest mentor were telling you, looking into your eyes. You will not succeed if you are not willing to pay the price. The price of focus, the price of sacrifice, the price of persistence. Because yes, this purpose that you long for so much will cost you many things. But it will never ask you to betray your essence, only to free it. Then define your purpose. Write it down. Read it. Feel it. Carry it with you as a shield. Because every day you live without a purpose is a day that serves someone else's purpose. And you were not born to be a spectator. You came to conquer your peak. Now that you have a defined purpose and a burning desire that consumes you from within, it is time to activate the most powerful operating system of the human being, autosuggestion. I call it the bridge between desire and its realization. And it is not something mystical. It is deeply scientific. Autosuggestion is the process by which you program your subconscious mind yourself. And you do it with words, with images, with repetition. Because your mind does not reason when it is relaxed. It simply receives. And everything it receives with emotional intensity, it turns into truth. Do you know why most people sabotage themselves over and over again? Because they internally repeat phrases like, "I can't," "This is difficult," "I'm not good at this." And they do it without thinking, like daily hypnosis. But what they don't know is that the subconscious obeys those commands without question. I give you a monumental tool, positive affirmation. But not that superficial affirmation that is said without feeling. No. I am talking about a powerful affirmation, spoken aloud, with emotion, with conviction, while visualizing the result as if it were already real. Because the mind responds to what it feels, not to what is said coldly. Write your affirmation, memorize it, and repeat it every morning and every night. In front of the mirror, with strength, as if your life depended on it. Because somehow, it does. I affirm that great leaders, the true conquerors of life, reprogrammed their minds through repetition. They didn't do it once. They did it 1,000 times, 10,000, until their subconscious had no choice but to obey. And here is a hidden principle that changes lives. The subconscious mind does not know if something is real or imagined. It only responds to the emotional tone with which it is spoken. If you tell it, "I am successful," but do so without soul, it will not believe it. But if you repeat it with fire, with tears if necessary, day after day, I guarantee that something inside you will begin to change. Because the mind cannot withstand emotional consistency. I also warn you, beware of self-denial. Beware of repeating phrases like, "I'm a disaster," "This always happens to me," "I never achieve what I want." Because each word is a command, and your mind is listening and obeys. That is why autosuggestion is not a technique. It is a way of life. It is a mental discipline that requires you to be the guardian of your thoughts, the sculptor of your identity, the programmer of your destiny. And if you don't do it, someone else will take that control and will use it against you. So get up every morning with a declaration. Write it down. Live it. Declare who you are. Declare what you deserve. Declare what you will achieve, not from arrogance, but from truth. Because you are not affirming what you want to have. You are remembering what you already are in essence. This is the third step, one of the most powerful, one of the most ignored, but also one of the most transformative. Because it doesn't matter how dark your past has been. You can reprogram your future word by word, thought by thought, belief by belief. And you decide whether to repeat what the world told you or to declare your own reality. Listen carefully. It is not traditional education that defines your success. It is applied knowledge. It's not what you know. It's what you do with what you know. I was clear and direct on this point. General knowledge does not generate power. Only specialized, organized, and intelligently directed knowledge can become wealth, success, and freedom. What does this mean for you? That you can have degrees, diplomas, years of study, and still be paralyzed, confused, and poor. Study, research, practice, seek mentors, invest in your mind as others invest in cars or clothes, because that is the only thing no one can take away from you, your inner power. I tell how many people with basic education achieved empires by mastering a specific skill. And do you know what else? They didn't do it alone. They formed teams, delegated, surrounded themselves with brains better than theirs. Because specialized knowledge can also be rented. You don't need to know everything. You need to know whom to turn to. This step challenges you to stop being a spectator of knowledge and become an architect of your wisdom. Create a weekly study plan. Read every day. Listen to the greats. Practice what you've learned. Apply the principle of accumulation. 1 hour a day for a year, and you become an expert. This step breaks the myth that formal education is a guarantee of success. I interviewed self-taught millionaires, men who abandoned school but never abandoned learning, because they understood something the world does not teach. Knowledge has no value until it becomes action. And here is the key. You must identify your unique talent, your vocation, that which ignites you inside, and turn it into deep, specialized, useful knowledge. It is not enough to know a little about everything. That makes you invisible. What makes you an authority, a magnet for opportunities, a valuable being to the world, is specialization. Ask yourself right now, what am I excellent at? What do I do better than anyone else? What problem can I solve with my talents? And then, dedicate your days to becoming a master in that area. But if you get distracted, if you give up, if you postpone, you will remain an amateur. And here is the phrase you must tattoo in your mind. Success is not for the informed. It is for those who apply. I knew it. The millionaires I interviewed were not the smartest. They were the most determined. Those who turned their knowledge into action. So stop saying, I know that, and start saying, I live that. Stop being a library and become a factory of results. Because this world does not pay for what you know. It pays for what you deliver. And that, dear listener, begins today. Now we come to one of the most magical and also most underestimated steps, imagination. But not as a childish game, not as an escape from reality. I reveal a secret that can change your life. Imagination is not escape. It is creation. Everything that exists was first an image in someone's mind. Electricity, the airplane, internet, even your cell phone. Everything was born as a spark in the consciousness of a dreamer who dared to imagine the impossible. And you are no exception. Inside you exists a creative hub, an inexhaustible source of ideas waiting to be born. But the problem is that the system has killed your imagination. School dulled it. Fear silenced it. Routine buries it every day. That is why this step is a battle cry. Awaken your imagination. I am talking about two types of imagination, synthetic and creative. Synthetic takes existing ideas and reorganizes them. It is the one we use to solve known problems. But creative imagination, that is the jewel. That is the direct connection to the invisible, to the source, to the divine. It is when you come up with something never seen before. It is when you connect dots that no one else has connected. It is when you become a creator. And this is where the alchemy of success occurs. When you combine a burning desire, a clear purpose, daily auto-suggestion, specialized knowledge, and you cross it with the light of imagination, you are reborn. I insist, great empires were born from an idea. Just one. And you don't need 1,000 ideas. You need just one. Well-focused, well-nourished, well-executed. How is that achieved? By giving your mind time to create, turning off the noise, walking in silence, writing every day, visualizing, meditating, training your imagination like a forgotten muscle. And when a powerful idea comes, don't ignore it. Write it down, protect it, research it, move it. Because if you don't do it, someone else will. Ideas are like seeds seeking fertile ground, and if you're not ready, they will look for another gardener. I share that the men I interviewed dedicated daily time to daydreaming, but not passively, but actively. They planned, visualized, imagined achieving their goals, and then acted. Imagination without action is fantasy, but imagination with action is construction. It is evolution. It is legacy. This step is an invitation to trust your mind, to take your ideas seriously, to stop mocking your dreams, because what seems absurd today could be history tomorrow. And only those who imagine big believe big. So do it. Close your eyes every day and visualize your ideal life with so much detail that it seems real. Feel the success, walk with it, breathe with it. Because if you can see it, you can have it. And never forget this. The men who changed the world were not realistic. They were visionaries. They were dreamers who dared to imagine something bigger than their present. And you, yes, you who are listening to this now, you can also be one of them. Having a dream without a plan is like setting sail without a compass. You can have a burning purpose. You can feel it in every cell of your body. But if you don't know how you're going to achieve it, you'll be condemned to spin in circles year after year until frustration silences you. I understood it perfectly. And that is why I give you this step: organized planning. I say, every person who amasses a fortune does so, starting with a defined purpose and following a concrete plan. Success is not improvisation. It is design. It is strategy. It is calculation. And what happens if the plan fails? I anticipate all plans can fail, but you must not fail in your determination. If the first plan doesn't work, design another, and yet another. Because failure is never final, unless you declare it so. Most people fail not for lack of dreams, but for lack of structure. They have brilliant ideas, but no clear steps. They want big results without small systems. They live in a limbo between emotion and action. But the one who climbs this staircase draws a map. I recommend writing down your plan, detailing it, breaking it into weekly, daily steps, setting clear, measurable goals, and most importantly, taking action immediately. The perfect plan does not exist, but imperfect action is 1,000 times better than paralysis. And here appears the power of daily execution. If your plan is not connected with your calendar, it does not exist. Knowing what you have to do is not enough. You must schedule it. You must commit. You must eliminate distractions and protect your blocks of time as if they were gold, because they are. I also speak about the value of experts, about surrounding yourself with an alliance of masterminds to help you perfect your plan, because you cannot see your own blind spots. You need advice. You need other minds that add clarity, experience, speed. Do not confuse it with dependence. It is collaborative intelligence. And remember this: great achievements are not built in solitude. They are built in a network, with planning, delegation, leadership. So take that dream that burns in your mind and turn it into a plan, with dates, with names, with actions, and then put it into motion. Because on this ladder, you don't climb with good intentions, you climb with execution. Now comes a step that separates those who desire from those who conquer, those who dream from those who make it real. I was categorical. Indecision is the assassin of success, period. The seventh step is decision. But not just any decision. It's about deciding firmly, telling the world, this is what I want, this is what I will do, and I will accept nothing less. A true decision does not admit negotiation. It does not wait for perfect conditions. It does not consult fear. It does not ask if it is the right moment. It is made and executed. I found that all the successful leaders I interviewed shared a common trait. They made decisions quickly and rarely changed them, while the failures took centuries to decide and then changed their minds at the first obstacle. Do you see the difference? Because indecision is a leak of energy. Every doubt you hold, every door you keep slightly open, is a hole in your vital strength. And the world feels that. Opportunities flee from the lukewarm. Greatness is not handed to those who hesitate. Here, I challenge you brutally. Start deciding faster. Decide what you are going to do today. Decide whom you will let into your circle. Decide what habits you are going to build. Decide what story you are going to tell with your life. And above all, decide to stop postponing your greatness. Yes, you read that right. Postpone your greatness. Because every time you say later, when I have time, when I feel ready, you are delaying the best version of yourself. And that, my dear listener, is betraying yourself. You don't need guarantees to decide. You need courage. And I say it clearly. The decision is the most powerful act of a conscious human being. Because the moment you decide, you reorganize the universe. You give instructions to your mind, you take the helm. But if you don't decide, others will decide for you. Circumstances, excuses, fear, the past, others' opinions. And you will live a borrowed, chujoi, mediocre life. So from today, decide. Decide with strength. Decide quickly. And decide with faith. Because every decision you make from the soul will be one more brick in the bridge to your peak. And remember this, there are no perfect decisions. There are only brave decisions that build extraordinary futures. If there is a step that has been underestimated, trampled on, and forgotten by most, it is this one. And yet, it is one of the most sacred. Persistence. Because having desire, faith, knowledge, plans, and decisions is not enough if you are not willing to withstand the storm. I say it plainly. Persistence is to a man's character what coal is to a locomotive's fire. Without it, there is no progress. Without it, any spark goes out. Most men give up just before the miracle, just before victory, just before the breaking point, and they spend the rest of their lives wondering what would have happened if they had held on a little longer. This step is not glamorous. It is not bright. It is not shouted about on social media, but it is what distinguishes true conquerors. Because to persist means to get up when the body says enough. It means to keep trying when no one believes. It means to go back into the fight when everything has fallen apart. And listen to me carefully. Do not confuse persistence with stubbornness. Persisting is not repeating the same thing expecting different results. It is adapting, adjusting your plan, changing strategy, but never, never giving up on the goal. The one who persists is not the one who repeats, it is the one who resists. I insist that persistence is a daily decision. It is not a talent. It is not a gift. It is a choice. One that is made when there is no longer motivation, when enthusiasm has disappeared, when only the bare commitment remains not to betray what you promised yourself. And here is the truth that no one wants to hear. You will not always be inspired. You will not always have energy. You will not always see quick results. But if you learn to persist, that emptiness will turn into power. Because persistence transforms you. It hardens you without making you bitter. It sharpens you without breaking you. It elevates you without losing yourself. And in the end, it rewards you. I propose that you measure your persistence with brutal honesty. Ask yourself, how easily do I give up? What excuses do I repeat? How many times did I abandon just before achievement? And if the answers hurt you, rejoice, because that means you are ready to correct. And to achieve it, you need an environment that fuels your strength. Surround yourself with people who persist, not complain. Feed your mind with stories of overcoming, not empty distractions. Because persistence is also trained with what you hear, with what you read, with whom you walk. Remember, the one who wins is not the smartest, nor the most talented. The one who does not stop wins. The one who keeps going when everyone else has already left. That is you. There is a truth that weak egos do not accept. You simply do not go far. More than that, you just do not arrive. End of story. I discovered one of the most powerful secrets of success, the strength of a group of aligned minds. I called it the master brain, or mastermind. It is the alliance of two or more people who unite in harmony to achieve a common purpose. And when this happens, a third invisible mind is generated, superior, capable of creating the impossible. I'm not talking about common friendships, nor about forced work teams. I speak of deep connections, intentionally chosen, based on trust, loyalty, and shared vision. An alliance where there is no competition, only collaboration, where there is no envy, only expansion, where each mind contributes light and none tries to overshadow the other. And do you know why this is so crucial? Because you cannot see your own limits. You cannot stay strong every day without a support network holding you up. You cannot have all the answers, nor should you even try. I insist, the great men who reached the top did not do so alone. All, without exception, had a circle of power. People who propelled them, challenged them, reminded them of their greatness when they forgot it. And here comes a brutal truth. If you are surrounded by mediocres, you will never soar high. If your environment limits you, criticizes you, drains you, then you are not in a mastermind, you are in a mind killer. And that costs a lot. Very expensive. That's why, do an audit of your circle. Who lifts you up? Who sabotages you? Who challenges you to grow? Who celebrates your progress without envy? Who is willing to tell you the truth, even if it hurts? I propose you form your own master brain group. You don't need 10 people, just 1, 2, 3, committed to their evolution. Gather, declare your goals, share strategies, hold each other accountable. Don't let mediocrity cross the door. Make it a temple of greatness. And if you don't have anyone yet, don't stop. Search. Ask. Approach those who vibrate at the frequency of success. Although today, they are far from you. If you vibrate high, you will attract them. Because leaders are recognized. Committed souls meet. And when they do, the universe will feel it. Because a powerful mind is unstoppable, but several aligned minds are invincible. We reach an invisible but powerful dimension. So powerful that it controls your life without you knowing. I call it the subconscious mind, and I affirm that it is the silent control center of your entire existence. I do not exaggerate, because your subconscious not only stores your memories, it stores your deepest beliefs, your patterns, your unresolved emotions. It is like a garden where every thought, every word, every emotion leaves a seed. And those seeds bloom in your reality. Let me clarify. The subconscious does not reason. It does not filter. It does not judge. It simply obeys. And it does so with frightening fidelity. If you constantly repeat to it, "I can't," "This is difficult," "I don't have what it takes," the subconscious accepts it as law, and it will act to prove you right, not out of malice, out of loyalty, because it follows your instructions, even if they destroy you. But here is the most important thing. You can also reprogram it. You can send it new orders, new codes. You can plant new seeds of success, faith, power, and those new roots will bear new fruits. How is it done? I repeat it again and again, through daily auto-suggestion, emotional repetition, powerful visualization. Every positive affirmation you repeat with conviction is an order to the subconscious. Every image you hold in your mind is a reality incubating within you. And here is a warning. The subconscious does not distinguish between what you desire and what you fear. It only responds to what you feed it with emotion. That is why, if you live in fear mode, if all day you think about what you do not want to happen, if you obsess over problems, your subconscious will turn that into prophecy. I propose something simple but transformative. Every night before sleeping, visualize your goal as if it were already real. Feel it. Be grateful for it. Declare it. Because just before sleeping, the threshold between your conscious and subconscious mind weakens, and that is when you can plant with greater strength. And not only that, during the day, avoid planting garbage. Care for your words. Care for what you consume. Care for whom you speak with. Every stimulus, no matter how small, enters directly into your internal operating system. The subconscious does not rest. It does not forget. It does not ignore. It is always there, waiting for instructions. So I leave you with this powerful question. As a mentor who wants to see you shine, what orders are you giving to your mind every day? Because if you don't like what you are reaping, review what you are sowing. Now we reach a step that, for many, borders on the mystical, but I approach it with scientific and philosophical clarity. The human brain is not only a factory of ideas, it is also an antenna. Yes, an antenna. The brain emits vibrations, it captures signals, it transmits energy, and this capacity, when aligned with thoughts of success, burning desire, faith, and action, turns the human being into a true magnet of opportunities. I argue that every thought, especially when mixed with emotion, generates a vibrational frequency. That frequency is launched into the universe as a wave, and what you emit returns, not by magic, by resonance. Just as a broadcaster finds tuned receivers, your thoughts find tuned experiences. That's why I insist. Don't think just to think. Think with intention. Vibrate with purpose. Use your brain as a powerful transmission tower that projects your vision to the world, and start attracting what is necessary to manifest it. And this is not empty theory. I observed that people who maintained a positive mental attitude, who reinforced their thoughts with faith, who visualized with passion, began to align with people, ideas, and events that accelerated their path to success, as if a higher intelligence was responding. Was it? Or was it simply the mind activating its full potential? Or both? The brain is more than an organ. It is a creation system. It is the bridge between the visible and the invisible. It is the place where faith is born, desire is ignited, focus is maintained, and certainty is established. And here is where another powerful concept comes in. Emotion is the fuel of thought. You can think, I want to succeed. But if you do so without emotion, it's like pushing a car without gasoline. On the other hand, if you think with strength, with fire, with vivid visualization, your brain begins to operate on another level. And that changes everything. I also clarify that the brain works better when it is in harmonic connection with others. That is why the master brain we talked about earlier is not just a strategy. It is a brain expansion. When several minds connect with a common purpose, their frequencies align, they amplify each other, and that generates ideas that no individual mind could produce on its own. Do you realize the power you have between your ears? You are not limited by your academic intelligence. You are limited by what you allow yourself to imagine, feel, and project. The brain is not a container. It is a generator, but you decide whether to use it as a simple survival machine or as a channel of extraordinary creation. I conclude this step with a powerful idea. Your mind can be your best ally or your worst enemy. There is no middle ground. It all depends on how you train it, how you nourish it, how you use it. And now, you know how. Now you can direct your frequency. You can choose your emotion. You can activate your brain power. And from today, I promise you, you will never again see your thoughts as simple ideas. You will see them for what they truly are. Tools to build an entire world. I leave it almost to the end, like a jewel reserved for those who have truly traveled the entire path, the sixth sense. This step cannot be fully explained with words. It cannot be dissected into a mathematical formula. I myself call it the summit of the ladder of controlled thought. Because the sixth sense is not taught. It is awakened. And what is it then? It is elevated intuition. It is wisdom without logic. It is a silent guide that arises from your inner self when all other senses fail. It is that gentle voice that tells you now, over there, trust. It is the whisper of the invisible, speaking to the one who has learned to listen. I assure you that the sixth sense only activates when you have aligned the previous rungs: burning desire, defined purpose, unwavering faith, applied knowledge, creative imagination, persistent action. When you live with emotional and mental discipline, a door opens, and behind that door is the sixth sense. This sense is not superstition. It is not divination. It is a deep sensitivity to the energetic world that surrounds you. It is a connection with something greater than yourself. It is the source that guides geniuses, sages, and leaders who have left their mark. I tell how the great men I studied trusted their sixth sense. They listened to it before making important decisions. They followed it even when logic said no, because they knew that well-trained intuition is worth more than 1,000 reasoning. And here is a brutal truth. Most people ignore it. They silence it. They ridicule it. Because the modern world rewards what is measurable, visible, and verifiable. But the true master listens to the silence. How is this power trained? Calmly, attentively, with inner connection, with meditation, with reflection spaces, with deep observation of life, and above all, with humility. Because the sixth sense does not shout, it whispers. It does not impose, it suggests. And you decide whether to ignore it or turn it into your best counselor. I invite you not to rely solely on reason, not to idolize logic alone, because the mind is a powerful but limited tool. The sixth sense, on the other hand, is a door to universal intelligence. When you don't know which path to take, listen. When faced with a big decision, connect. When fear clouds your mind, breathe and feel. Because if you have done deep work, that voice will speak to you, and if you follow it, you will not be wrong. This step is a gift, but it's not for everyone. Only those who have climbed the ladder with faith, commitment, and courage receive it. And now that you're here, perhaps you've already felt it. You're close to the top, but before reaching it, you must face the guardians of the door, the internal enemies that have destroyed more dreams than poverty, failure, or any crisis. The 6 basic fears. I call them the 6 ghosts of fear. And they are precisely that. Ghosts. They have no body, they have no substance, but they feed on your energy and paralyze your progress. The first is the fear of poverty, the root of complacency, the poison of creativity. This fear creates a mental state of scarcity, where you see everything as a loss, where you do not dare to invest, to grow, to take a leap, because you fear ending up with nothing. But the ironic thing is that this fear is what condemns you to have nothing. The second is the fear of criticism, the one that prevents you from speaking, launching, creating, because you are more focused on others' judgment than on your inner truth. This ghost silences your voice, stalls your ideas, mutilates your authenticity. And I tell you clearly, as long as you fear being judged, you will never be free. The third is the fear of illness, which creates anxiety, hypochondria, real physical weakness. Because the mind influences the body, and the fear of getting sick can make you sick. The fourth is the fear of losing love, of betrayal, abandonment, rejection. This fear destroys relationships, generates emotional dependence, and makes you a slave to others' affection. The fifth is the fear of old age, because we live in a culture that idolizes the young and despises the wise. This fear creates despair, anxiety, fear of time. But I remind you, old age is wealth. It is mental capital. Do not fear it, honor it. And the sixth, the most devastating of all, the fear of death, the fear that paralyzes life, the one that prevents taking risks, clouds the present, weakens faith. But I give you a powerful message. Those who live with purpose, those who live with love, do not fear death. They transcend it. All these fears have one thing in common. They feed on negative thinking and the habit of indecision. That is why the only way to defeat them is with conscious action, deliberate faith, and daily mental training. I propose that you do an honest self-analysis. Which of these ghosts are operating within you? Which one whispers in your ear at night? Which one prevents you from moving, speaking, loving, creating? And once you identify them, you must declare war with affirmations, with firm decisions, with a new standard. Because if you allow fear to dictate your path, you are not alive, you are just surviving. This step is the prelude to rebirth. It is the final exam, and only the brave pass it. Here we arrive at one of the most controversial and powerful concepts I present in my work, the transmutation of desire, especially sexual desire, as fuel for success. Yes, you read correctly. I affirm that sexual energy is one of the most potent forces possessed by the human being. It is the one that has created empires, masterpieces, historical movements, and also, when misused, it has destroyed careers, relationships, and entire lives. I am not talking about repression. I am talking about transmutation, redirecting that raw, intense, passionate energy towards higher purposes. Because sexual energy, when elevated, becomes creativity, personal magnetism, influence, persistence, bravery. The great leaders in history, I say, were deeply passionate men and women. But they did not let that force dominate them. They channeled it. And that is why their presence was impactful. Their voice hypnotized. Their vision drew crowds. You also have that power within you. But you need to learn how to elevate it. Not waste it on empty gratifications, purposeless relationships, or habits that drain you. I am firm. Desire must be tamed like a wild horse. Not to kill it, but to mount it and steer it towards the peak. How is it done? Through concentration, focus, intense visualization, turning the desire for pleasure into a desire for purpose. It's not about denying it, but about transforming it, using its fire to heat the boiler of your greatness. And here is a key point. When you combine a burning desire with creative imagination and absolute faith, the energy generated is magnetic. Literally, your personality changes, your vibration rises, people feel it, and opportunities begin to appear. I insist, every extraordinary achievement has been born from an intensely emotional desire, because the emotional is what moves mountains. So look inside yourself. Discover what your deepest fire is, then purify it, channel it, raise that energy, and turn it into action, into creation, into impact. Because he who masters his desire masters his destiny. And now, the last step, the closing of this magical staircase. I summarize it in a single phrase that contains the entire work, the whole method, the whole truth. He who conquers himself can conquer the world. This is the end and the beginning. Because after climbing the steps of desire, faith, autosuggestion, persistence, specialized knowledge, the subconscious, the sixth sense, only one remains to be conquered: yourself. Not your parents, not your boss, not your circumstances, not your past, you. That inner voice that sometimes urges you and other times sabotages you. That side that wants to change but also fears leaving its comfort zone. That inferior self that makes excuses, procrastinates, and victimizes itself. I tell you, with all the bluntness of a real mentor, as long as you do not master your mind, you will continue to be its slave. Success is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of a trained mind, focused mind, governed mind. You cannot have an extraordinary life with ordinary thoughts. You cannot conquer the outer world if you are a hostage to your inner demons. I propose that you take on the most sacred of commitments to become the absolute master of your mind. That means observing your thoughts, choosing your words, rooting out limiting beliefs, declaring war on self-sabotage, and above all, having a mental image of yourself as the being you deserve to be, not as the shadow of what others said you were. This step is not climbed only once. It is climbed every day, every morning, every time you choose to act with faith instead of fear. Every time you say yes to what transforms you and no to what stagnates you. Every time, despite fatigue, criticism, failure, you continue. And right here is where everything changes. Because when you realize that you are the architect, you no longer wait. You take the hammer, you take the plan, you take the power. This last step is the final invitation. Become the owner of your mind, and you will be the owner of your life. Do it. Start today, because you are not broken. You are only asleep. And this staircase has come to wake you up. Now that you have traveled the 15 steps of this magical staircase, you can no longer pretend you don't know. You can no longer hide behind ignorance. You have heard the truth. Not mine, yours. The one that has always been within you. The one that says, no more excuses, no more fear, no more borrowed lives. From today, either you decide to climb with everything you've got, or you decide to stay down watching others do it. Because this ladder is for the brave. For those who were not born to survive, but to conquer. For those who do not accept a lukewarm life, but burn to leave a mark. You didn't get here by chance. You were called. And now that you know it, there's only one thing left to do. Climb. If this message moved something in you, if you felt that this staircase is also yours, then join this path. Subscribe now to the channel. Activate the bell. Share this video with someone who also needs to wake up. Because here, we don't just narrate books, we ignite souls. Welcome to your new life. Path of greatness. You didn't come into this world to be average. You came to be a legend.